Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you're going to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. And available wherever podcasts can be found. We're also found on the Patreon at the $20 a month Patreon mark. Don't rush me. I'm doing my thing,
There's a very
man.
important thing we need to say. 5 years ago, today,
that's today.
Sunday, the airing of this show.
Wow.
First episode of Going In Raw. Everyone up. September 22nd, 2014. 5 years ago. Wow, who'd have thunk we'd make it this long? I certainly didn't.
Certainly not me. We should reach out to Dan like today and see if we can get something up by Saturday. Some sort of thing with us.
That'd be fun.
A 5-year, or at least a clip show.
Yeah, totally.
Anyways, this is, of course, Matt Chat. We've been doing this 5 years now.
5 years now.
And that's pretty crazy to think. Time just absolutely flies. Of course, this started off, the first year was like just monthly pay-per-view shows.
Yeah, we did. They were kind of pay-per-view reviews, and the idea of it was, hey, you're going into Raw knowing the latest what's happening. So it was like an hour-long Raw preview show, essentially.
And it's still, no wonder Raw preview is my favorite part of the week.
Could be. It harkens back to our origins.
Exactly. That's funny. So thank you, everybody, for being with us. If you've been with us for 5 years,
thank you.
Since going back to 10 for the win, or just over the past week or two.
Yeah.
Who knows? Thank you very much for sticking by us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Kind of crazy. So we do have some questions with regards to that. But first, of course, we're going to talk about some pro wrestling.
Of course.
Jacksonville's number one Matt Shatter Guion has a question. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey there, friendos. This is Jacksonville's number one Matt Chatter Guion Halili, back with another Matt Chat question. This week, I want to know, simple, with Raw and SmackDown kind of switching things up, getting a little bit better, are things, creative-wise, looking up for the WWE, or is this just a temporary thing that they're doing to try and steal buzz from AEW? Will things go back to being crap? I don't know. Just have a discussion. Let me know what you guys think. Too sweet. Hearty handshake. You guys are amazing. Later.
Thank you, Guillaume.
Thank you, Guion. Yes. I think if you take a look at where we were at the beginning of 2019, if you look at the reactionary McMahon shakeup, there had been so many panic moves. And since McMahon sort of handed the reins off to McMahon, went through his normal parade of panic moves, even to the point where we weren't having any wrestling take place during commercials. And so everything had to be either 2 out of 3 falls match, elimination where they restart the match. It was desperation. And I do feel like with the hiring of Paul Heyman as executive director in Raw, and to a much lesser degree, Eric Bischoff as executive director of SmackDown, I think we have seen, I'm not going to say it's been a creative renaissance by any stretch of the imagination, but Raw has been a lot better. SmackDown's been pretty decent also. I do think that we have turned a corner. That's not to say things can't fall off a cliff. I am cautiously optimistic about the upcoming draft and the idea of 2 brands that basically do not interact. Maybe we can get back to the yearly Survivor Series thing or brand warfare, whatever it was. So maybe we can get back to that. I am excited about that. It seems like at least the first appearances with Brock on SmackDown, maybe as like an actual fixture who's there, if not week to week, a couple weeks to a couple weeks. And then on the other side, Raw, if you got Rollins, The Fiend, Braun there, I think we might see some improvement, even more so than we've had so far. I'm going to say yes, things are looking up. It's WWE. Anything can happen. It could fall right apart. That's obvious. But I'm going to say, yeah, we've turned a creative corner. It was so bad, and it's not so bad anymore.
I'm going to say maybe for several reasons you said. You're right about ever since they brought in Heyman, to a far lesser extent Bischoff, the shows have been, Raw more so, better. That being said, I'm going to say maybe because, as you mentioned, in WWE, anything could fall off the cliff seemingly any moment. It's up to Vince's whims.
Sure.
While Heyman has seemingly improved the quality of the creative on Raw, over on SmackDown, we keep on hearing stories of how Vince wakes up Tuesday morning, looks at the script, rip, starts over again. That's not an atmosphere for creative stability. Now, we've heard about some moves. Ryan Ward stepping down or being removed from his spot as head writer of SmackDown. Ed Koski's in charge over there now, along with Bischoff. So there still seems to be a degree of upheaval happening over on SmackDown. Whether that's over or not, I don't know. But with that level of instability over there, I can't say with certainty that, yes, at least on the Blue brand side of things right now, creatively, they're in good hands until I know exactly what kind of rhythm the creative team is getting into. Right over on Raw, it feels like Heyman is getting into a decent creative rhythm. Raw last week was pretty good. Week before that was pretty good. It's still a wait and see thing here. Short term, yes, seems like things are getting better. Let's see if they can sustain that through the end of the year, leading up to Mania. And with this new deal with Fox, of course, Raw still on USA. If they can build to actually a really interesting WrestleMania and have their top show of the year get some eyeballs on it, because not just because they're bringing in outside stars, because the quality of the creative is really good and there's some interesting matches, then maybe we can talk about, yes, they've turned the corner. But I think it's a large degree too soon to tell.
Yeah. Next,
B-Man.
Patrick Sparks, the B-Man.
Yeah.
Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, friendos, Pat here. All right, so with the draft coming up, my question for you is, who's going to benefit the most from moving to a different brand? Men, women, tag teams, everybody really. And then who is going to not benefit from it at all, and it's going to hurt them and put them in a lower standing? What do you guys think? Thanks, friendos. Bye.
Thank you, B-Man.
Thank you, Patrick Sparks.
All right, I'll tell you who's going to benefit most, and that's NXT. Triple H said in one of his interviews he's done recently that he doesn't anticipate any NXT talents being drafted up to the main roster during the draft in a couple weeks. About a month, sorry. Which is great, because NXT today is making the move to USA. They need all hands on deck.
We're filmed this last Wednesday. Is what
Yeah,
you're
18th.
We
We're shooting
filmed this on
Wednesdays. They need everybody there to make the largest impression possible to take on AEW in the new Wednesday Night Wars now. And if NXT were to lose any of its star power, it would be a disservice to the quality product over at NXT. So long as NXT doesn't lose any major players, so long as the roster more or less stays intact, they're going to be a massive winner. Everything we've heard so far is that there's not going to be a whole lot of upheaval on the Raw and SmackDown rosters post-draft. So I don't expect any massive sweeping changes. That could all change, of course. As far as who's going to benefit least, I think we saw that on Tuesday. Kofi Kingston is in the midst of a pretty good world title run. It seems that's about to come to an end at the hands of Brock Lesnar. It's going to benefit Brock. He's going to be on TV. He's going to be champion. He's going to be collecting fat paychecks. Kofi, I think they've done a pretty good job, and I think he's done pretty much everything he can do to really establish himself as a worthy, legitimate world champion, which is kind of what his whole story's been about anyways. And I think they've done a pretty good job of telling that story. The hope is that if Kofi loses on October 4th on the first SmackDown on Fox, they'll circle back around to that story, maybe at Mania, maybe some other pay-per-view, or he can get another shot at Brock and maybe get that title back. So I think that'd be massive for him. And if that happens, then Kofi won't be on this list of those who benefit least from the draft. I'd be kind of shocked if that happens, though. Kofi's had a great run. He's had the belt about 160 days, so about 5 months. By the time October 4th rolls around, he'll close in on about the 6-month time frame, or getting close to it. It's been a really good run, but that's the first name that really popped in my head as far as someone who would benefit the least. He's probably going to lose his world title.
Yeah, he's definitely going to. That would have happened sooner or later. It would have happened with Brock anyways. As far as would it have happened this soon, that's probably doubtful. But I will say this. Brock Lesnar is definitely the person to benefit most from this. Fox obviously wants him. He likes money. He has, as usual, all the leverage. Did you know that this is going to be the first time Brock Lesnar has had a match on television
15 years
since his initial run with the company.
2004.
That's amazing and not surprising. So yeah, he's going to benefit more than anybody. They're immediately going to put that title on him, and then maybe Roman will have a shot at taking it off him. That's pretty much the only name I can think of, though. So there's that. Hopefully they can build some good stories around other contenders that feel legitimate. I think they could totally do it with Kofi. Whether or not they will, I have no idea. I mean, they generally, I don't know. I don't know what Fox is looking for.
Yeah.
Who will benefit least? As I've alluded to, everybody else in the SmackDown men's division. I think that Universal title is probably a bit more fluid now. It used to be the other way around, but the Universal title over there on Raw, it wouldn't surprise me if over the next 12 months, names like Braun Strowman, maybe Drew McIntyre when he returns from injury, maybe if they give him some more time off so his return is more impactful. The Fiend, I think, might have a good chance at winning at Hell in a Cell unless there's some sort of interference from somebody even bigger than both those guys. So things on
what
Raw.
about King Baron Corbin?
Baron Corbin. He could have that Universal title easily, and I think he probably will. Over there on SmackDown, though, the most prized possession will probably end up being the Intercontinental Championship, assuming that stays on SmackDown. U.S. title is on Raw, in which case that's going to be sort of the title for the guys that we really like. And everybody else is going to have to wait. Excuse me, my goodness. Wait it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to have to do until Brock actually wants to retire from pro wrestling, perhaps.
If he does.
I don't know.
Anytime soon.
Yeah, so there you go.
There you go. Next from Gatlin T.
This is the Firefly Funhouse's newest puppet, Gatlin T. And I've been going back and forth with my friends here a lot here recently over me trying to get them to watch professional wrestling. And they keep coming back with the same thing. Why would I ever watch professional wrestling? So I want you guys to answer the question. Why on God's green earth do we watch professional wrestling? Thank you guys. Too sweet and hearty handshake.
Thank you, Gatlin T.
Thank you, Gatlin T. Why do we watch pro wrestling? I think for me personally, it boils down to a couple different things. I think that I am a big lover. I'm not going to claim to be an historian, but I do appreciate history and the history of pro wrestling, especially here in America. I know it sort of splintered off pretty early, but the history of pro wrestling here in America is a fascinating, bizarre one. And so the tradition of pro wrestling is something that endlessly fascinates me. And the lineage of pro wrestling to get to where we are today keeps me involved in the product, whether it's good or bad. The athleticism, the way that in pro wrestling, every time you think you've seen it all, some new talent, some fresh matchup, some fresh way of telling a story in a match continues to set the bar higher and higher. There doesn't seem to be a peak in terms of singular talents. Like, I thought I had seen everything once I saw Rob Van Dam in the ring, and then 15, 20 years later, I saw Kenny Omega, and then I thought I had seen it all. And so I think people continue to push the limits of what can be done, not just athletically, physically, but storytelling wise. I think the concept of storytelling in the ring is one that absolutely fascinates me. How two men can basically simulate a fight that can tell any number of stories ranging from dramatic to comedic. That keeps me enthralled. The juxtaposition of just how silly pro wrestling is with how dramatic it can be endlessly fascinates me. So yeah, it combines a lot of a lot of features from genres that I find appealing, from comic books to films to sports. It combines all the stuff that I kind of appreciate out of those things into one very strange, very unique, very American thing. Pro wrestling. That's sort of a nebulous answer, but that's my answer.
No, I don't think you're don't think you're being that vague. I think what appeals to pro wrestling in the most broad sense is storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, humans like to see stories unfold, whether it be on a motion picture screen or television, listening to them on the radio or podcast these days, reading them in books, comic books, whatever the case may be. We like to read stories. And pro wrestling, it's kind of a bizarre storytelling medium, but it's a storytelling medium nonetheless. It's the only one I can think of that combines high athleticism like you'd see in any other professional sport, elite athleticism in some cases, with highly dramatic storytelling. We just don't see that.
Yeah.
I mean, the hallmark of pretty much any great sports telecast is that they try to create narratives about the athletes who are participating and the way that the story is unfolding in the game, which they have no control over. So they can enter into, and that's why you have all these people paid huge dollars to be analysis on ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, because they're in advance of the game advancing potential storylines, and during the course of telecast advancing those storylines. Here's the thing, though. Since they have no control how the game plays out, they could spend weeks and weeks prepping a storyline for a game only for something to happen so that storyline doesn't come into play at all.
LeBron versus Kobe is a great example of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How it ended up being Kobe versus Dwight.
Yeah. Yeah. So
2009, I guess.
So there's countless instances where that happens. You go to you watch UFC. A lot of what UFC does in terms of how they frame the fights, they so desperately want to be pro wrestling because they want to create these storylines going into these fights because, yeah, two people in a cage fighting each other, that can have some excitement. A lot of times it's pretty dull. But unless there's larger-than-life personalities involved in stories, there's nothing really to catch you.
Yeah.
I mean, like we watch a compilation of, I think it was in Russia or something, the slap thing. That's great to watch for 5 minutes, but if you tell me you had to sit down and watch that for 3 hours, at a certain point I would stop caring.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the stories of anything going on there. I just don't know the stories.
Yeah.
So when you get down to it, it's just about storytelling. It's modern myth making. You got, when done right, interesting stories told in a really creative manner, featuring feats of exceptional athleticism. It's a storytelling form unlike any other, and for a number of years, and I think this is not so much the case now, there is the stigma about it being fake. I mean, it's choreographed. It's like dance.
Yeah.
It's like how you block a scene for a movie. They're working out the beats of the story they're telling to elicit emotional response. So it's all about storytelling.
Yep.
Next, got a question from Rich.
Friendos, Rich the Smash Bro here with a quick Mad Chat question. Notice what time it was. Try to get home quick, so this may be a late. If it is, I apologize, but run it anyway. Anyway, we all know that AJ Styles kept the title last year through the game release. With Becky on the cover of the game this year, do you think her run is going to last until at least Survivor Series, since the game comes out at the end of October and Hell in the Cell's at the beginning of October? And if you see her keeping the belt, how do you see her Hell in the Cell match with Sasha going down? So just something I had to think of really quick. So yes, and don't yell at me for driving. I'm driving very slow through a low speed limit area right now. So take care, friendos. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah. That seems to be the pattern we've seen thus far, is when someone is on the cover of a video game, if they have title till after release of the video game. Granted, she shares the cover with Roman. Roman doesn't have any belts right now. I'm not going to say it's an impossibility that she's going to take an L and lose that belt in advance of the game's release. I'd be kind of surprised, though.
What day does the game come out?
22nd.
Okay, yeah. No, she's going to lose that title. It has nothing to do with the video game. I think that the math on the video game kind of, it is thrown off by Roman Reigns being there. I think this year is a little bit different than prior years. I think that Becky is still going to be a major featured player in WWE going all the way to WrestleMania, where the Four Horsewomen will main event in that Fatal 4-Way. I think there's going to be a lot of great twists and turns, and she's going to be prominent amongst all that stuff. She's still a huge, huge star. Well, as you said, Roman Reigns on the cover. He ain't got a belt. I don't think it's necessary. I think that the inclusion of Roman Reigns, number one, there's a lot of math being busted these days. Baron Corbin just proved that by getting his hands all over that throne and scepter and hat
Yeah, that's not a
wrist clock.
huge dollar marketing budget math, though.
No, that's fine. But the bottom line is there is not really there's nothing that dictates champion must keep their title as long as that person who's on the game is still figuring prominently in storylines, and it's not like they don't have like EC3 on the cover of the game. Then I think that they can. I don't think that one has to do with the other. So, yeah, I'm going to say I think Becky already has. She's got too much history having been made for the title to be a thing. Like, it's one thing when AJ had it. He was in the middle of a title run that I think broke some sort of record in the modern day, at least. I think. Didn't he break like CM Punk's? No, but didn't he do? Well, it was over a year.
Yeah,
so
that's
that was
a little bit over a year. But
yeah.
CM Punk had it for over 400 days.
Yeah. All right. Well, whatever. I think that AJ Styles wasn't exactly a history maker. And so, he had the title. They kept the title on him. And I don't think one had to do the other. I think that Becky Lynch main event at WrestleMania. She's probably going to main event next year. She's one of their biggest stars with or without the title. She could totally lose that title. And I think Sasha's probably going to take it off her at Hell in a Cell. She's got the advantage. She's been in Hell in a Cell before. She's going to use that.
Here's a thought.
Very
now
crafty.
that we have heel Sasha, maybe her fortunes will turn in that she can only win the title at pay-per-views, but can't defend it on TV. So here's a possibility. Becky loses in a strong showing at Hell in a Cell. They have the rematch, I don't know, a week or two later on Raw. Becky wins it back before the game comes out.
I
and then
wonder.
they have another match at, I guess Survivor Series, the next one, so probably not then. But after that, Sasha can get it back.
I just wonder if they're going to be able, like, if they do want to, and this is like way early, and we're speculating more than anything. The idea of the Four Horsewomen doing a fatal four-way with the distinct brand split that is solid. I'm assuming they could use Survivor Series to catapult it. But how would they do it? I'm really curious to see how they're going to pull that off. So yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, she's totally going to lose it.
We'll see.
Next up, Christopher Rappersod has a question about King of the Ring. Let's see what he has to say.
Hello, Steven Larson. Rocking the new shirt today, rocking you guys today. So my question is, was the King of the Ring tournament was a good thing or a bad thing? Like, it was predictable that Baron Corbin ended up winning. Obviously, I am very happy for that, and I think it's funny and hilarious. But the matches, the weeks, the tournament, was this the greatest? Like, did it live up to did we really need this tournament? Or couldn't it have been much better with, bigger stars, maybe better matches and stuff? Like, Baron Corbin won, he was already pushed as a big deal. Like, who did this really benefit other than Baron Corbin?
Thank you, Christopher Rampersad.
Thank you, Christopher.
Steve?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, man.
It was great.
I'll be honest with you. I thought it was good. I thought that we had... So, okay, listen, WWE is never going to put on their version of the G1. That's not going to happen because the G1 is just a grueling 24-day spectacle where these people just kill their bodies and they can kind of take some time off doing tag matches after that. WWE doesn't work that way, so that wasn't going to happen. That being said, we had career matches from Elias and Baron Corbin during the course of the King of the Ring, which is something we never thought we'd see. Completely. Okay, so it's funny in how predictable and yet unpredictable it was that Baron Corbin won. Because at the very beginning, I think both of us was like, oh man, Baron is probably totally going to win this thing. But we never actually thought that was really going to happen. Like you and I both picked. I picked to going into it Drew and you picked Kevin Owens. I think both of them bowed out in the first round, didn't they?
Yeah.
So we have that. And then even after that, I picked like three more people before I ever thought it'd be Baron Corbin. Even in the end, I figured it'd be Chad Gable. So I thought that it was booked very, very well. It threw us for all sorts of loops. I think it did make a star out of Chad Gable. They have to continue that momentum, but I mean, given what happened this past week on SmackDown, I think they're doing that so far. So that's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was a big fan of this year's King of the Ring. I hope they do it annually. I think it'd be awesome.
No, everything you said is right. It was great fun. Basically, I think about every King of the Ring match got 15 or so minutes. They let every match breathe. They let every performer showcase what they can do. It was almost as if one or two times on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, you got a pay-per-view quality match because that's what they basically all were.
There were some exceptions. I think there was one like oddly short match, and I forget what it was.
Yeah, I mean, not all of them were spectacular, but vast majority of them they gave time and were pretty good.
Yeah.
We saw career-defining matches from Elias, from Baron Corbin, star-making turn from Chad from Chad Gable.
I had a star-making turd earlier today.
Yeah. So all in all, I think it benefited everybody that was in it. I kind of like that King of the Ring isn't necessarily the most star-studded affair. You got some major names in there, and then you get some undercard wrestlers in there that could pull off an upset or two. People that really need that rub. I think it really worked out for everybody, and I do think they made the right choice in picking the most entertaining possible winner of King of the Ring with Baron Corbin.
Good.
Without a doubt.
Good.
Next from Cult of False Reality.
I hope from his new apartment.
Yes.
What's good, Stephen Larson? Cult of False Realities here in my new apartment. Here for Matt Chat. And my question is simply this. Now, we've been hearing about, oh, this person's going to WWE. Oh, this person's signed to AEW and blah, blah, blah. But my question is, what superstar or what upcoming indie person doesn't need WWE, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, none of these big places? Like, who just is good where they are? I could see Walter just not being in NXT UK because he doesn't want to come to Maine, but I feel like he could have been someone who could have just been on the indies making a good life. But who else could you think of? Too sweet, hearty handshake. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Cult of False Realities.
Thank you.
When I heard this question, I thought of one person, Joey Ryan.
Yeah, sure.
He's made a career basically out of not needing any organization. He's made a fine living for himself in the independent ranks as one of the co-founders of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
I wonder how pivotal he feels his time in TNA was. Because he was there,
for a couple,
and he did
like a year or
the
two.
sleaze stuff there.
Yeah.
But I wonder if he thought it was like I wonder if he experienced a big uptick in exposure, or
Yeah, I have no
I'm
idea.
kind of curious about.
I don't
that.
know.
But
I don't know.
that's the right answer.
Yeah, and by all accounts, he seems like he's more than happy continuing on wrestling in the independents, being involved in bar wrestling. He's made a really good career for himself, not going really anywhere except for that short little trip in TNA.
All right, my answer is going to be somebody who actually did need WWE and WCW and New Japan to get them where they are today, at which point they don't need anybody, and that's Y2J Chris Jericho. Think about it. That guy has his own cruise line. He's got his own
Cruise line.
his own rock star band. He was just at Ace of Spades here in town.
Yeah, man.
He doesn't need anybody. So I'm going to go with Chris Jericho. I was at the gym the other night, and on the TV on TNT, they were showing, I think they were doing like a week of Tom Cruise or something.
Interesting.
Because 2 nights ago it was like Jack Reacher, and then last night it was whatever that space movie it was he did. Like every commercial break, there was an AEW on TNT commercial.
man.
And you know whose face was front and center?
Kenny Omega.
No, nowhere to be found, actually.
Cody.
Chris Jericho.
Oh.
Chris Jericho's all because why? Because he's the biggest star they have.
Champion, too.
And he is their champion. So yeah, Chris Jericho, he doesn't need any of these companies. He could do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. So yeah, that's my answer. But I mean, in terms of historically, who hasn't needed anybody? It's Joey Ryan.
Joey Ryan.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Next, got a question from Stephen M.
Everyone knows, excuse the mess, I'm just back from MMA training and I goosed my knee a bit. But so I want to know, what is the best multi-person match? Is it a triple threat? Is it a fatal 4-way? Is it a fatal 5-way? Is it a 6-pack challenge? Or is it wildcard finals? What is it? Each we pick one and just tell us why it's the best, and you can't have the same. So too sweet, hearty handshake.
Thank you, Stephen M.
Thank you, Stephen M. All right,
Go
man.
ahead.
I mean, it's obviously the Royal Rumble. That's what it is. It's the Royal Rumble match because there's like 30 surprises, or you're like, oh, who's gonna come out next? I mean, usually know who's gonna come out first and last, but like in between that, you got like 28 surprises. It's great. Sometimes they do these giant rumbles in Saudi Arabia, like 50 people, and that's great. That's even better. It's greatest. So it's Royal Rumble. You get great surprises like Titus O'Neil falling under the. Did they do a 3 Foleys one year? In like 98 or 99 or something? We got 3 Foleys. That's very clever. So, yeah, it's totally Royal Rumble. Give me a break. Or it's FMW's death match on the floating island thing.
That was just a tag match, wasn't it? There's 4 people in it, right?
That wasn't a tag match. What are you talking about? That was just chaos. Everybody like bludgeoning themselves, and they got sickles and stuff. Oh, it was great.
All right.
Anyways, what's your stupid
answer?
answer?
Heck, I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to go to the Rey Reyes match in AAA.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of like...
Oh, man, yeah,
It's kind of like a Royal Rumble, but you can pin some people, too.
No, that's the Copa something, right?
Oh, Copa, yeah. Rey Reyes is great, too.
Yeah.
All those crazy multi-person matches they have in AAA.
Yeah.
That's great stuff.
What is it, Copa Triple Mania, something like that?
Yeah, that was that one, but also Rey Reyes. It was a multi-person thing.
Which is the one that has the little fire thing? That has.
That was the Copa.
Yeah, give me the Copa.
But if you win Rey Reyes, you get a giant sword.
That probably
Rey Reyes is my answer.
That probably wins. Next up, Blake Esta has a question about our anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, Steven Larson, Blake Esta, Matt Chat's resident radio DJ checking in now. Congratulations on 5 years, guys. Well-achieved accomplishment. My question is, what's the first memory that pops out to you over the past 5 years? Whether it's good, bad, funny, whatever it may be over your past 5 years of doing Going In Raw, what's the first memory that comes to your guys' minds? Congratulations once again on 5 years. Looking forward to 5 more. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Blake Esta.
Thank you, Blake Esta.
So I thought of one of your answers. But I'll let you talk about it since you have it listed here.
Okay.
Because that was pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
Not very often you get a music superstar that buys you a beer.
Oh, man.
That's pretty great.
I know.
Get a chance to talk to him. The first thing that popped in my head, I think, is that was the feeling where I felt like we actually really made it.
Yeah.
Like we were established amongst our peers as our equal, as an equal. Internet darlings.
Yeah, okay.
Brian Zane was kind enough to invite us out to be part of his panel WrestleMania weekend 3 years ago, and I feel like it was really the first time maybe that we were really hang out with our contemporaries, our peers, and it was cool. We got to meet a lot of people who are in the same field as we are. It was. Like I said, it was when I felt like we made it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we weren't just a couple of lumps sitting in your would-be dining room.
Yeah.
Talking about wrestling to nobody, just talking to a camera.
Yeah.
It was a good turnout. We got to meet a lot of awesome friendos after the show, and it felt like kind of a precursor to what we would later experience at All In, Double or Nothing, and all the other events we've been to subsequently.
So that's a great answer, because I agree that like it was, we had seemingly as many people there to see us as there were to see some of the other people up on that stage. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. Similarly, I think for me though, it was more like, what can you and I do without anybody else, without any padding of the panel, if you will, just you and me. And for me, it was Friendo Fest this past Double or Nothing Starcast, where we were hoping to get 10 people to show up to our live show, our live review. And one thing that we're decent at is promoting ourselves, which is odd because we traditionally haven't been good at that. But like we pushed Friendo Fest, we turned what was simply a live podcast show into an event. And by God, we had like 60 people show up. And mind you, to get from Starcast to the place where Friendo Fest was held, it's like either a really long walk or like a short drive.
But it's a short but potentially complicated drive.
Yes. So like people had to go from wherever they were to come get to where we were.
Yeah.
And we still, like, we got there and there were people there and they kept on coming in and kept on coming in and kept on coming in. And then at the end, we went out there and we took pictures of everybody. And to me, that was like, man, we did this on our own. So I would say Friendo Fest when I really realized that, wow, we can actually make a living off of doing just this, it was, one person's tragedy is another person's, bounty, I guess. But when that first video we did it was like an emergency news brief thing where Paige had been arrested or something in Vegas, I think. Some shenanigans. We got it up as soon as, I think I was on vacation when we recorded it because we did it like via Skype or something.
We did a lot more stuff remotely back then than we do now.
Well, yeah, I know, but I think I was literally in like LA or something.
That could be.
So we stopped what we were doing. We recorded it and we put it out there, and then like it just the numbers started coming in pretty big time, and it was like, oh man, wow, that's like people are starting to know who we are.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool. And then this last one I'll mention is NXT Takeover when we were in Orlando. We were walking towards our chairs.
We were trying to find our seats. Yeah,
trying to find our seats, and we were stopped by international superstar recording artist Wale.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And he was like, "Hey, Steven Larson." We're like, "Hey, Wale, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, I'm a big fan of you guys." And then like he was sitting like near us at Takeover, and he was like, "Hey, Steven Larson, you guys want some beers?" "Yeah, of course, Wale, international superstar, sure." It was like the coolest thing. It was like,
pretty awesome.
Man, that's we kind of are doing good for ourselves.
Yep.
So all that stuff was really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of feel like, so during the 10 for the win days, I always felt that to a degree, like we had our fan base and our view and our videos would do really, really well. Mm-hmm. And we made a career on it then. But I always felt that like community wise, we were very niche.
Yeah.
Within the scope of like other machinima properties, other YouTube gaming properties, I always felt that we were kind of riding the coattails of like Inside Gaming.
Yeah.
Because they were obviously the popular ones.
Yeah.
And then like if there were fans left over, we'd sort of, they would be like, oh, cool, we like Steven Larson too.
Yeah.
We definitely had the people that did appreciate what we did. And so many of those are still with us today. But I do feel like we're sort of where I wanted to be back then. Like we have several different communities across different platforms. Mm-hmm. It's a really amazing spot to be in after putting honestly a lot of work into this.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really cool.
Yep. I got some text questions next. First from Taco Dan. This is what it is. Almost thought it was a video question for a second. Hey, friendos, happy 5th anniversary. Power rank all the wrestling trips you guys have gone on since the start of the channel. Cheers, guys, and here's to 5 more years and beyond. Thank you, Taco Dan. Go ahead.
So, as a joke, this is my number one. It's a performance center. Last year, I got to go by myself. No, that's messed up. I was really bummed out you weren't there. But shout out to Tony Pizza Guy. Who just started a Deadlock, the pro wrestling site with CM Pulse, with James Darnell.
Yeah,
because he held that camera for my Undisputed Era interview.
Yeah, go check out Deadlock.
He's just a terrific guy.
Yeah,
both those guys are.
Yeah, both are outstanding.
So that's sort of my joke answer. It was really cool, and I did feel really guilty because you were at home. But I'm going to say for me, Double or Nothing, because we did Friendo Fest. The show was great. Met up with a bunch of friendos. So was Friendo Fest kind of our meetup that we did there?
Yeah.
That function is our meetup. We were also at StarCast. We had a good time there.
Yeah.
And then I'd say that's my number one. SummerSlam 2016 was my number two because 2K brought us out. It was the first time like we did interviews with like wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it was nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah.
And we were not very good at it.
No.
But we got all those great intros that we still use today.
Yeah.
And once aside from our performance in the interviews, the experience of being there, like we hung out with the Game Attacks Craig in the luxury suite.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Like that to me, it was, and we're in New York. Like who doesn't love that? And then I've got All In. Because that was also the kind of thing where we did All In, and that StarCast was amazing.
Yeah.
Like we had so many people coming up to us. And then we went to Buffalo Wild Wings and had a meetup there, and I was surprised by the turnout there. We had like 20 people show up there.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
A couple of people stiffed us with the bill. And then when 2K brought us out to the WWE archive, that was really cool.
That was pretty neat.
And then the Mania 34 trip, we had Internet Darlings. We went to a WCPW show. I had a miserable time at WrestleMania, which is why it's so low on this list for me.
But everything else about that weekend was awesome.
Everything else about that week was great.
Tops for me is All In, Double or Nothing. I'll talk about a bit more, but All In just something about StarCast that year felt way more intimate. We were just sitting there hanging out. Oh, what? Guess what? Best friend's sitting next to us. Got to chat with them for a little bit.
That StarCast was better.
Got to chat with Chelsea Green, who was awesome.
Yeah.
Got to offer donuts to Joey Janela and Punishment Martinez.
Good story.
Stone Cold ET was there.
Yeah, that's true.
He was missing from StarCast in Vegas.
Where we met Tim Spulak.
Yep. Yeah. And we got to meet, I maybe mentioned that, a lot of friendos we hadn't met before.
Yeah, this awesome drawing of Top Notch and Mecha Santa from one, I forget what his name on here. Can't see his name.
And while there wasn't the singular event like Friendo Fest that there was at Double or Nothing at All In, I felt like the weekend, it was just an incredible experience of meeting people, taking a really good show at All In. Just top to bottom, a great weekend. Got some great food there too. Some Chicago-style pizza.
Oh man,
Chicago dogs, some Italian beef. From a food standpoint, that might be the top trip we've done so far.
Not even close.
Next for me was Mania 34. Going to WrestleMania is probably the least enjoyable part of that whole weekend, but just taking in all that wrestling, being a part of the Internet Darlings panel.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was such a miserable at WrestleMania.
Wow.
I was miserable.
I know,
though.
that's fine.
You can beat that stuff.
It was a long weekend. I understand. But like we were doing all right for ourselves money wise, and so we ponied up and made sure we had good seats for everything.
Yeah, that's true.
We had incredible seats at Takeover, had decent seats at Mania, had good seats at the Raw after Mania. Just all in all, apart from Mania maybe, a really fun experience. Then Double or Nothing, Friendo Fest was a blast, StarCast was a blast. Double or Nothing was a great show. Even the travel aspect of it wasn't too bad, driving back and forth from Vegas.
I know that was one of my favorite parts of it. That was actually a lot of fun.
Playing roulette for a couple hours with Ulysses was a blast. Whole weekend was fun.
Yeah.
And then SummerSlam 2016, we were flown out to New York by 2K Games, WB 2K. Just a great weekend. Yeah, we weren't very good at interviewing. Still had a good time. Be able to sit up in the luxury box taking SummerSlam 2016 was awesome. Hanging out with Craig, and this is the first time. Well, not necessarily the first time, but we got to meet or hang out with a lot of people in the 2K sphere.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
And we don't really get to see them that often.
I know we don't. Yeah.
And then finally, the first PWG show we went to. Only Kings Understand Each Other, I believe it was called.
Sounds right, yeah.
The first and now it was one other time he went, but won't ever go to that VFW hall ever again.
I know. I'm glad we got
in Reseda. So
I'm glad we got to sneak those in.
Yep, great show. Another text question from Luis Ariza. What moves do you guys always pop for? Luis loves a good Phoenix Splash, Spanish Fly, and Destino. He's 100% right about Spanish Fly.
Yeah, that's on my list for sure.
Spanish Fly, second rope pile driver.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I don't care. When Okada does a Rainmaker,
it's
hard for me not to scream Rainmaker at the top of my lungs.
Yeah, that's true. I pop big time for the Spanish Fly. I always pop for a Canadian Destroyer. They just look so cool.
Yeah, they do look
how
cool.
do you not pop for that?
Yeah, you're going to have to pop for
so
that.
I'm a big fan of that. Trying to think if there's anybody else that I like really pop for.
Judas Effect.
Yes, I do scream for the Judas Effect.
Yes.
That is totally true.
Final text question from the Hadley Doodley champ. This question comes from hopeful future wrestler Maddie Light. Which NWO member would you trust to babysit your children?
All right, so I'm going to go. Let me see here. Let me just see who's on. I know my early answer. NWO members. But I'm going to go through and see if there's anybody I forgot.
All right, don't go to that first link. Go to the second one.
Go to this link here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here.
Let's go through the list. Scott Hall.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. Kevin Nash, yes.
Yeah, maybe.
I would trust Kevin Nash. Does he have kids? I think he's got kids.
Maybe. I think he's been married for a long time.
Hogan.
No.
DiBiase.
Maybe.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
The Big Show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. 100%. 100% Big Show. NWO Sting.
I don't know much about Jeff Farmer.
I don't know anything about him, so no. He's a stranger danger.
True.
Stranger danger.
Fair enough.
X-Pac. No.
Not well. Remember, he seems like a swell guy now, but not during his NWO days. No.
Yeah, no. Vincent. Miss Elizabeth. She's a woman, so yes, right? She seemed nice enough.
Yeah, she seemed nice enough.
She might be messed up, dude.
I don't know.
You can say it.
Well, I mean, she had
was
some
heavy into drugs.
Yeah, she was, at least,
She might leave your kids.
Well, I didn't know if it was during the NWO period or it was just later on. I don't know.
Eric Bischoff.
No. You'd try to make my kid join a motorcycle gang.
Eric Bischoff's a big fan of Gypsy of the dog that I have.
Yeah.
That breed.
Yeah.
So I'd consider it.
All
I'd
right.
consider
Well,
Bischoff.
maybe as a dog sitter then.
Yeah. Exactly. Buff Bagwell. No, not a chance.
Not a chance.
Mike Wall Street. Yeah. He's raised some cool kids, man.
Okay, yeah, fair point.
He's got Bray Wyatt's his kid.
Yeah, Bo Dallas.
Absolutely, 100%. Boss Man. I don't know anything. I don't know. Stranger Danger.
Yeah.
He's not a real cop. I don't trust cops anyways. Scott Norton. Seemed nice enough.
He
when
seemed
we
like
met him.
he walked by me at StarCast and did this. It was very warm.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah,
to
I'm going to
Scott
say
Norton.
yes to Scott Norton.
On top of that, nobody's going to fuck with my kid if Scott Norton's there.
Scott Norton actually seemed like a really sweet dude.
Yeah. Randy Savage. Oh, yeah. No, a little weird.
He seemed a little unhinged.
Conan. I feel like this is one of those RF ones with like the who's a dick and who's not.
I know.
Would you let?
I don't know.
Would you let your kids? Would you leave your kids? I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say I don't know.
I mean, he got shanked.
That wasn't real, man. That was all storyline.
Mr. Perfect. So he also had a drug issue.
Yeah, probably not then.
Probably not. But McGillicuddy seems cool.
Yeah.
Rick Rude. Probably not. I don't know.
That's a maybe.
Louis Piccoli. Stranger Danger. Dusty Rhodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd let Dusty.
Yeah.
Of course. Absolutely. Brian Adams.
Probably not.
Stranger Danger. Scott Steiner.
No. No. Hell no. Hell no.
The Disciple.
No.
Brutus. Beefcake.
He doesn't move
we
around.
met Beefcake.
But he doesn't move around too well these days.
He
can't
wouldn't
keep
know
up.
where. Yeah, he wouldn't know
seemed
where
like
Bam
he
is.
seemed really sweet, like a really.
I wouldn't put him through that. I wouldn't want to put him
He
through
just
that.
seems like his body's taking a lot.
Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I would hope that he would somehow influence my child to be even cooler than she is right now. Horace Hogan.
No.
Stranger Danger. Lex Luger.
No.
I don't think he can handle he's frail. Sting.
Yeah.
Steve Borden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with that. Disco Inferno. Not
No,
a chance.
no,
Stay
no
away,
chance.
dude. David Flair. Stranger Danger. Don't know anything about him. Tori Wilson. She seems sweet.
Yeah, she seems
I'll
pleasant.
say definitely yes. Bret Hart.
No.
No?
No.
I would totally let Brett. Absolutely.
My kid in the sharpshooter.
Hey, what are you doing over there? Get away from the TV. It'll poison your mind, Come here, I'll teach you how to do sharpshooter.
Hey, I'll start stretching your kids.
Oh,
You want
well, she needs a little toughness in her life. Slap nuts, Jeff Jarrett.
No.
Ron and Don Harris.
No.
Not a chance. Medeja. Stranger Day. I don't know anything about her right now.
I don't know anything about her.
Who is Tylene Buck?
I vaguely remember her.
Is she like Miss NWO or something?
Maybe. No.
I'm going to say no. I don't even know who she is. April Hunter. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does, but I don't remember.
But no, Stranger Danger. Pamela Paulshock? What is this?
Well, go to the very bottom. Booker
the
T.
2000s.
Booker T. Hell yeah.
Booker T, of course. Ric Flair.
No.
No, not even. No.
No.
No. And then HBK Shawn Michaels. These days, yes.
Yeah, in that period of time, yes. In his DX days, no.
Because for all of these, I'm thinking at their best. When they're cleaned up at their best.
All right.
So Shawn Michaels, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Good stuff.
And that's it. That's the show for today. Thank you, everybody, for the questions, and thank you, everyone, for sticking around, sticking with us for 5 years.
Yeah, we got probably 15 years more till we can retire from this racket. Maybe 20. Yeah, maybe 20 more years and we can retire.
Oh my god, if we do this for 20 more years.
Well, Lacey starts collecting retirement in 10.
Oh, all right.
So.
Odd. All right, I'll be doing this for 30 years.
There you go. Thanks everybody for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.